So it's always good candidate update few brief notes on what exactly they're looking for, even if it is LinkedIn or if they're reaching out to recruiter.
So, hi there. We have Nikhila here, who is an HR. She has been working in the industry since past more than 7 years. She's taking care of end-to-end recruitments, and currently she's working with one of the organizations who is based on product lines. And we are more focused upon people who are taking care of, who are getting started with the entry level and to the director level as well. So having the understanding, going through all the different applications, she has so much of experience. She's here right now, and I will be talking about a lot of questions, a lot of challenges that people face. And I would like you to tell me a little bit more about yourself, Nikhila. Hi.
Hi, Aditi. Thank you for the opportunity. And yes, myself, as you mentioned, I have been into recruitment for a quite while now. And prior to that, I have been working for event management or the technical support kind of requirements or the roles. So screening the CVs, interviewing candidates, I think that's the best part about my job because I get to connect with new people and connect people with the jobs and vice versa. And I think it's a dream come true for most of them, and that really gives me an immense pleasure. And also it has uh, it always had a positive impact on my listening skills and decision making skills. I think I really love what I do. It's not like, oh, weekend is done, oh, I have to log in. It is never that way. I think it has to be the same with every individual.
Absolutely. So, what is that one particular thing about your job that you love the most?
I love the most about, it's more like there are people out there who are really looking for a job that helps them in their living. And also, if you see the last 2 years, there's been a lot of issues with the job profiles, and now we do have openings, but then because of the COVID hit and all that, there've been a lot of people who could not really survive without jobs. And I think one good thing for me was, what I was doing was, in case if I have some of my openings where I have people who are reaching out to me or struggling for in job search, what I usually do is try to keep kind of give them information that we have this job open here and they can apply for the same. And also I'll keep the team informed that this candidate is readily available and he needs job. I think that is one thing. Someone who is really in need of job, we will need to always give them a place to give interview, talk to the right people, so that way if they are selected or not is a secondary thing, but at least if we give that opportunity, they'll get that space to talk, and if they are selected we can go ahead. So I think as recruiters we will need to help as much people as possible. I think one thing that I love about my job is that I am connecting people with their dream jobs and helping people the most I can.
Awesome. So, considering the pandemic situation in mind, I have seen on LinkedIn a lot that there are people who are, posting about their problems. That they have personal problems, financial problems, somebody is sick in their family and they need a job. But one thing that I've seen is missing in their, post and all is about their application, as in what post are they looking for, what is it that they can offer to the organization. So in that case also I have seen there are thousands of people who have shared the post and commented over there for more reach and everything. I just thought that it doesn't make sense if you have not even mentioned about the work that you are willing to do. You have just mentioned about your problem, but still getting so much of reach. This is out of a blue question. I just came into my mind. I wanted to know, okay, how is it possible that people support this kind of an approach?
So the only intention of people would be to help. So there are also few people who comment stating that update few details about yourself, right?
Right.
So instead of like not most of us would not have time to go to the profile and look at what they're doing, and then look at our organization, or the roles we have currently open and all that, right?
Hmm.
So it's always good, candidate update few brief notes on what exactly they're looking for, even if it is LinkedIn or if they're reaching out to recruiter. So even
Hmm.
for me, I get on average 50 people reaching out to me over LinkedIn
Hmm.
per day in a given day.
Hmm.
So if you're stating, do you have any opportunities? Let me know. That would
Hmm.
not be the right approach. Or,
Hmm.
when we say we do not have the right opportunity, they would say, let me know if there is.
Hmm.
So I'm sure that the recruiter will not be able to keep a note of that
Hmm.
specific message and reach back to the candidate, oh, we have this opportunity.
Hmm.
The best way to do it is give clear information of what experience you hold. So, for example, you're reaching out to recruiter. Hi, this is myself, and this is what I'm into. So many years of experience, and I saw this post on LinkedIn or on your career website. There is an opportunity for so and so position, and I think I'm suitable. And you have to call out why do you think you're suitable. So if
Hmm.
you're not even from the said domain that's been mentioned in the job description, so that really doesn't make sense. Say we are looking for someone in networking and you're from a food industry or transportation, it's good, but then possibly it's not suitable for this specific profile, right?
Hmm.
So it's important you call out what makes you suitable for this profile, so it will also ease the recruiter's time and they will respond to you sooner. If you need immediate response, this is something which you can use as tactics, and not too much of details, like not a paragraphs of it, possibly 2 to 3 liners of what information you would like to give them on your skill set and also on the job description. How is it suitable to you?
Hmm.
This will help even if it is on post or even if you're reaching to the recruiter. And do not expect recruiters to get back if there is anything suitable, because possibly there are many people reaching out to them and it will become difficult for them to remember, oh, this person reached out to me for this. For you, it's one individual, but for them, it's too many people there who are talking, whom you're talking, whom they are talking to, and they have been reached out for. So it's always better you reach back to them if you see something suitable. It can be in near future or when you're open for job. And like once the CV has been uploaded to ATS, so you are applying for the job. So there might be n number of applications for that job. So I also get, I know it's out of context than the question which you asked, but I also would like to talk about this part here because
Hmm.
I'm also facing the challenge there. So if there are some 500 applications and you have applied for the job, that's awesome. We need applications. We want people to apply for other jobs.
Hmm.
At the same time, you cannot expect them to call you in a day or two, because there might be a different way they are doing the screening, or it might be one person screening all the 500 CVs, and it becomes impossible for the person to call all 500 candidates,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
they will reach back to you. The good thing you can always do to reach is to give information to the recruiter on LinkedIn. At the same time, you cannot say that I still didn't receive call. Why is that I didn't still receive call? So I think recruiters are also individuals who have too much on their plate, just like you. It's they will reach back to you. If it is suitable, they'll reach back. At the same time, we will have to see the time we receive the applications. There might be many people applied before you. So we will need to come one at a time. So it takes
Right.
some time. Yeah, I'm not saying that all recruit, like it's it's many individuals, right? There are
Hmm.
good recruiters, there are good candidates. At the same time, there is a different way of approach each one of us use in our job.
Hmm.
So I know there are a lot of complaints too, and that's the reason I'm calling you back.
Hmm. Right. So you actually said it right. People actually become rude if you don't reply to them or you're not giving them the attention that they seek. So it happens definitely. I agree. And on the same note, I have a few questions. First, but before that, I want to ask you about, let's say, if an individual wants to reach out to you, right? You receive so many applications. What are your priorities in those applications to actually shortlist it?
One thing, Aditi, what I look for is, of course, the suitability for the job profile. So I will need to look at that as the most important component, whether the skills and the qualification is matching with the job profile.
Hmm.
So apart from that, for any CV or a resume, what's important is that the stability. right? I'm not saying all recruiters look for it, but I think most of the industries look for it.
Hmm.
So the stability in job. So this might help the fresh grads or few people, the candidates who have started up their career, has 2 to 3 years of experience.
Hmm.
It's important that they have to be stable in each job. It is not like average of 1 year in each company or 2 years in each company. This becomes really difficult for the employers to analyze whether this candidate would stay with us for a while, right? So everyone would look at commitment. Even if it is an employer, we look at a commitment from their end. It's the same with an employer. They look for a commitment from the candidate.
Hmm.
So it's important that stability has to be there. And then the interest match. Say if someone is applying for a technical support role and they have clearly called out in the CV stating that I'm very keen on Java, C++. So
Hmm.
that contradicts your application with what you're looking for. It's
Hmm.
always important to ensure that your CV is customized or edited according to the job you're looking for, and it has to be realistic. It's not for the moment, for 1 year you want to do this job so you're applying for it.
Hmm.
You have to understand what you're looking for, right? So and you have to update your CV accordingly, and that makes the job easy. And when the rejection comes, you will have a question, why am I rejected?
Hmm.
Possibly there are times when we can inform why you're rejected. There are times when we cannot inform, because these are the few reasons for rejections. There, the
Hmm.
stability, if you're not calling out what you're keen on, and if it is not matching with the job profile. And one thing which I would also look for is misspelling or typos, right?
Hmm.
So it's 2 to 3 pages of CV. It's important you update the information clearly. In education, it says education, right? So something similar. So that is more important,
Hmm.
because if we are not able to type the CV for ourselves, like what we did, and we are able to call that out clearly, it would be a red flag there.
Right, right. So, on the same note, I wanted to ask you, what is the best number of pages that a person should have? Does that vary, or is there any minimum? Like, we say that at least don't have it more than 2 pages. Your resume should be only of this pages. So, what do you think is the best number of pages that they should have, or does it can vary? How is it?
I've come through CVs like for fresh grads, they have 3 to 4 pages. I'm not sure why they have to include so much, but I think 1 or 2 pages is sufficient for the fresh grads. All they have to call upon, and also for the fresh grads, that I think one good thing they can do is to update information on what course, I mean, if it is BE BTech, what
Mhm.
stream they completed BE BTech in.
Okay.
So I see this missing in most of the fresh grad CV, because that really is important. There
Hmm.
are few requirements where we're looking only for CS grads. There are few where we're looking only for mechanical based on the company, right?
Hmm.
So it's important you call upon what stream you completed and which year you completed your BEB Tech in. And
Hmm.
it's also important to call upon 10th, 12th, which year, and BEB Tech, as I mentioned, and also on the stream. So this is one thing. And also if you can add the profiles picture, that would really make lives easy, because we are all working remotely and we do not want someone taking interview and someone else joining. So we do that cross check with most of the companies. This happen. So always add your passport size photograph onto the CV.
Right.
So this is important, and anyone with experience,
Hmm.
I think it's important I think 3 to 4 pages. It should not be more than that. When it is, and it is important you call upon. It's not just your experience and where you have worked, the duration where you have worked with each company. So I see that few CVs do miss that information. That is really crucial.
Hmm.
Say if you have worked from this year, it's month is still okay, but the year you will have to really call out which year to which year, and also the month. Yes, of course, I think even that is important, because there needs to be that if there are any gaps and all that, we will have to look at that. And we are really okay to look at, it's not that if there are some gaps that recruiters would reject. It
Hmm.
should not be the case. And again, it depends on each individual. It's
Hmm.
important to call. I do call the candidate and ask why is the reason there is a gap, right? So at
Hmm.
least it's good to know. I know there are some articles which and also LinkedIn posts will talk about it's okay if there is a gap, right? Why should we be questioned on that? The
Hmm.
reason to question is only because, like, if it is something where you have been more productive, like you took up some MBA course or you did some training, so
Hmm.
that way we would know what you have been doing. If it's for
Right.
personal reason, it's still okay. But
Right.
if there is something, we can inform the management. So what we do is we are a bridge, right?
Hmm.
So when we take the information, what we are doing is we are giving it to the management. So we try to sell you. We try to sell the company to. It's the same way, right? It's more like sales profile.
Right, right. So we were also talking about the stability aspect. So we understood कि हाँ ठीक है, when we are just getting started with a career and we are in the initial stage, a lot of switches are not really good. But I have certain people who are in my program also, and they have the experience of 5 years, 10 years, 14 years also in one organization. They are working for such a long time. They are also facing a lot of problem in switching because I think when they are taking the interview and all, a lot of companies have this mindset ki maybe they'll not be able to adjust in the environment. So do you think that this could be one of the reasons that they face the difficulty, or what is matlab, what could be the other reason why they are not able to get that opportunity,
And
especially the ones
this
working in the same organization for a very long time?
So this Aditi is again, I think, individual employer choice or the recruiter, right? And again, recruiter is not the main decision maker.
Hmm.
Possibly the management is looking for something like
Hmm.
that. So as you said, possibly there are companies who are looking for mixed experience, right?
Hmm.
So we've been working with different cultures and all that. So for few companies, they look at it in a different way. They look at it as a red flag. If you ask me, it's not a clear red flag. It's always good to reach out to the candidates and know why they've been with the same company for so long, right? What made them being there? Like, is it the culture or is it that? And why they're looking for change now after 10 years?
Hmm.
So I think if the reason is only better prospects, that is the usual dictionary word that most of us use, right? It's always good to call out the real facts there.
Hmm.
So it's not the CV that we will need to look at and reject, even if it is unstable, unstable, or even if it is someone with more good stability. It's always good to reach out to them and talk to them on why they've been, why hopping from one job to other. Is it that there was some crisis, like they were asked to leave? You never know because that will not be mentioned on the CV. Or
Hmm.
possibly they had to leave because they had to look for a job in a different location, or they were looking for a remote profile, because that's become a new trend now where most of the us are working in a hybrid model or a remote model. There can be many reasons, right? Or possibly they wanted to take a small break, they're getting married, personal friend and all that. So it's always good to reach out to candidates and talk to them on what the reason is. And most importantly, it's important for the candidates and also give this information to recruiter that why they're looking for this change currently, and call upon the real facts rather than just stating better prospects.
Hmm. Right. Right. So, the other question that I have for you is that what is like just to make the journey easier and help people understand that they need to be patient enough, they also need to know about the interview process of the organization, how much time it generally takes. So, according to you, what should be there in their mind, in people's mind, ki हाँ, at least at that time, though they will take to revert to you, and this is the normal process, which a standard format of interviews that people usually take. According to you, what is that?
Aditi, it again depends on the job, right? Say there are few jobs where we have limited number of profiles. So
Hmm.
possibly we will interview two, three candidates and we will take a call in a week or two. But there are profiles where we have many applications coming in. And
Hmm.
again, at the same time, the hiring manager, each hiring manager is unique.
Hmm.
Few are okay to talk to some five people and take decision. More the people we talk, more time we would need in order to take decision.
Hmm.
So it depends on the recruiter to inform the candidate on this. like whether it takes a week or two. Sometimes even it happened with me, I would inform in a week I'll get back, but possibly there will not be any update
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
So again, what happens is here the candidate doesn't know how recruiter works, whether they can trust on the recruiter to give the information or whether they have to follow up. It's
Hmm.
always good to follow up. At the same time, it should not be once in 2 days. And
Hmm.
also on the recruiter side, it's okay to inform that so and so time we will take to get back to you.
Right.
And but like we should not just keep the candidate on wait. It's good
Yeah.
to keep them informed, at least on email, what's happening.
Right.
So I think the average time, it depends on the role again.
Hmm.
But I think if you have applied for a job today and you did not get a call in a week or so,
Hmm.
uh, uh, at least you would get that acknowledgement, right? That you have applied for this role and so will get back to you. I
Hmm.
think it's always good to wait because, as you know, Aditi, the number of positions out there, and we are applying for all these jobs.
Hmm.
And even if I or you apply for it, we would not get a reply to it in a week's time. There
Right.
might be few employers who will get back to you in a day or two. And again, it depends on how many recruiters are working on that job role, right? If there are
Hmm.
500, 600 applications, how will they reach out to everyone in a day or two?
Hmm.
So both the side, if they're right at their own space, right? They have, the recruiter has their own concern, candidates has their own concern, but at the same time, it's important for candidate to understand that they can always reach out to the recruiter asking for feedback, but it should not be too often where they're reaching out every day or 2 days. Give a week's time or 1.5 weeks time. And of course, if there is an update or if you are shortlisted, recruiter will reach out to you because even they want to close the requirement. They just do not want to keep you on wait when you're shortlisted for the role.
Hmm.
But if I'm an applicant, right, it would be a different way for me. I'll be thinking, why have been not reached out, right?
Right.
So I want to know what's happening with my
Hmm.
profile. So it's obvious. So even the candidate is right at his end. What he or she can do is reach out to the recruiter.
Hmm.
So on email, by then, if you have already taken the interviews, you will have the email address or the phone number of the recruiter. So you can reach out to them via that channel, or you can reach out over LinkedIn,
Hmm.
but give them sufficient time and ask for how long you will need to wait. Sometimes we will not even know the time frame by when we will be able to reach back, so we'll say
Right.
a week or two. So it
Right.
depends on each requirement is what I would say,
Hmm.
because there are jobs which we have it open for months. There
Hmm.
are few jobs which gets closed in weeks.
Hmm.
So it really depends on the applications and also the hiring manager.
Okay. So I was actually about to ask you about this thing only because people, they hesitate in reaching out to the recruiter and they feel like what if it will be like too much and the recruiter might get annoyed. Let me just not get back to them. Let me wait for them. And then they wait for months and months and they don't know actually exactly when to reach out to them. Either there would be people who will every day reach out or there would be people who will not reach out at all. So a proper standard method of reaching out and following up again on their own application is not really clear to everyone. So I think what you have said is exactly correct, that at least give 1 week's time or maybe the time that the recruiter has already given. There are possibilities that you have given a time but you were not able to get back, you got mixed up with your work and all. And as you said, you are a human being, you will take time of your own, you have your own work also, you can forget, it's fine, you might get occupied in something else. So that is absolutely fine. I also want to ask you one thing about LinkedIn. Now, we understand that there are a lot of people who are actively looking for jobs on LinkedIn, right? They have this open to work on their profile picture. How much effective is that? I want to understand from your end. Is that really effective? Open to work?
Say there are profiles where I mean, there are job openings where we have too many candidates for that skill set.
Hmm.
So there is a lot of supply, and what we do as recruiters is look for people where we do have that filter where we can filter the candidates based on whether they're open for job or whether they're following your company and so on. So
Hmm.
that's one of the criteria most of the recruiters would go for is people, it's see if they want to fill the position sooner. look for someone, because there is already a huge market there. So that's just one filter that we will update in our ATS or in LinkedIn. So that is always good. Say if we are open for job, or as recruiters, if you're hiring some for so and so position, we can also update it on in our LinkedIn profile, in a personal LinkedIn profile I'm talking
Hmm.
about. It's always good to update that. And also on LinkedIn, it's good to update some information on, like, say, the domain you're working for, right? So how does recruiter search for the profile is with the keywords. So there is a JD there. So they'll take few keywords, they'll have a discussion with manager, and keywords is the only way we will be able to search for profiles. And of course the title. But the title filter is something which I will not go with, because each company will have their own different titles. The best way to go for it is with the keywords. Say if I'm looking for someone in food or transport or something like that, right? Say based on the domain they are in, it can be about networking, it can be about security, or it can be like it can be from someone from the travel industry. So it's very important that we put in those keywords, and the profile has those keywords. If you have just your title, if you're open for change, it's important you put that keywords, or at least put some information there for the recruiter to understand what exactly you're doing. It can be 3 to 4 pointers, not like your CV where you have a lot of information there. But of course, like currently where you're working, because few of the LinkedIn profiles will not even be updated. It will not have information on what exactly the candidate's role is in the current company.
Hmm.
So if it's a technical, non-technical, say we're looking for pre-sales guys, we will look for someone with technical knowledge. So that
Hmm.
needs to be called upon there. If there is no pre-sales, at least there should be information like proof of concept or RFPs, what they're exactly doing, right? So
Hmm.
that information is very important to call upon in LinkedIn if you're open for change, and also update the status as what you're looking, like you're open for change, or you're looking for recruiters. We can always say we're looking for so and so position. So that's one thing. And coming to your previous question, where you stated that about candidates reaching out to recruiters, it's
Hmm.
always fine to reach out. The
Hmm.
frequency is what that matters, as I mentioned. And the most important thing is, for me, I'll tell you my real time experience. I have candidates who, like, because I use my personal phone for the calls. I really do not have, like, I'm not good at managing two cents. So I use my phone. I have my candidates calling me at 10 o'clock in the night. So my work ends by 5 p.m., but they call me at 10 o'clock in the night, ask me, I didn't get an update yet. So how do I respond? Right? So I cannot be rude. I cannot say that I have an update, because if there is, we would normally reach back. And again, Aditi, I'm saying this is based on individual. As you said, they're recruiters. Like, to forget is something that happens with everyone, and they possibly they have gone through a bitter experience where there was no update from some one of the employers. That's when they are like restless. They're like, what if the same thing happens to me again? And they want to know what's happening with their profile. So
Hmm.
it's good to reach out, but there is a reasonable time. And the time that you are reaching out to them, right, you're reaching out to them in the day working hours,
Right.
not via WhatsApp. So I get messages like in the midnight asking, I'm waiting for update. So it usually doesn't happen with more experience. To be, I think mostly it happens with the fresh grads and initial
Right.
stage of work, right?
Right.
So if you ask me, if I'm an applicant, also no, we should not be doing that. There is a work time. You
Hmm.
should always mail them, or LinkedIn, or call them. No WhatsApping. I know WhatsApp is an easy channel nowadays, because everyone knows that we are online in the morning. We do check it and all that. But something I feel, it is not the right proper way of unless your recruiter has reached out to you via WhatsApp, or has
Yeah.
stated that you can reach out to her via WhatsApp.
Right.
Always keep it professional, whether it is recruiter or whether it's candidate. We have to keep it. We have that mutual consent or respect for each other's time.
If I would be at your place, I'll especially ask that person's name. I'll find out his application and reject it. You're rejected. No worries. Okay. So, it is really funny. Like, what you said is correct. People have their own experiences, and they are afraid about what if, something like that will happen. One of my members had the same experience. Now she was going through all the interviews and everything, the whole process she went through. In the end, she never got response. She was so frustrated. She said that it is the same process happening again and again. I give the interview round by round, I'm doing it. And in the end, I am not getting any update.
Right,
Like, okay,
right.
we have this round, now we have this round, now we'll get back to you. In the end, it was like that. So she also got exhausted. So I can completely understand they do go through a difficult process. But at the same time, one more thing that you mentioned, it is also dependent upon every individual's approach. I say this all the time, that if the recruiter will not behave the same way to everyone, it will depend upon the approach that you make to that recruiter. That will vary in terms of the communication, the follow-ups, the relationship that you build. Your interpersonal skills plays a very important role in that. That is completely true. I also wanted to ask you, is it possible, or I am sure it would be there in part of the process, step by step we go through the processes. So there is, say, HR round, then there is a interview with the director or CEO or whatever. We are having different steps. So we are given the details about the interviewer as well, or is it something that the interviewee should himself take the initiative to ask this, ki, who is going to take my interview, or are they informed on the prior basis? How is it?
It again depends. Like few would give information over the call that you will be talking to the hiring manager or one of the team members. A brief introduction while we are talking to the candidate, and before even we send out the interview invite. And few would update it on the invite stating that this is the contact person or the name of the person who will be taking the interview on, and that is what the designation is. And few would normally do not give that information, but usually I think either we will need to update it over call or we will need to inform them over message while we are sending the mail. That makes it good. But also, I think while the interview starts, even before it starts, the gentleman whosoever is taking the interview would give a brief introduction about himself, like his name and what he's into.
Hmm.
So that is something that few of the companies follow. But I think if you're asking me in person, I think it's important we inform whom they are talking to in prior. So now it's become a trend. Like prior, if you ask me before 5 or 10 years, the LinkedIn was not something which most of us were using.
Hmm.
So what used to happen is like we will just go talk to the person whosoever it is, and it's also mostly face-to-face interviews. But
Hmm.
now it's all remote model. Most of them prefer to take it remotely, and what happens is they go to LinkedIn and check for the information,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So if they'll ask you what's the last name, whenever you're giving them the name, they would ask you what's the last name. The only reason is, possibly the one of the reasons is, they want to go to LinkedIn and see what is the kind of person they're talking to and what experience he holds and what he's currently doing in the organization. That gives them more confidence about, okay, this is the person I'm talking to. Possibly when they will look at the profile picture or what they're doing, that makes their life easy to take the interview. So it's always good to give that information beforehand.
Right. So at the same time, about the research of the organization and the company, how much important do you feel is it that you need to do your research before you are there in the interview? As in, knowing about the names of the people who are part of the organization, or about the history of the organization. How important is it? For example, if I just go there randomly, I got a call yesterday or day before, I was told that I have the interview with them and you just have to be there. But I might not have done my homework in terms of research. How much does that affect the interview or his or her application?
It does affect because it's important we know what we are applying for and which organization. And Aditi, what happens is like a few people might be just applying for jobs, right? They might be applying for 10, 20 jobs in a day. With the market trend now, there's so many positions open there. So
Hmm.
they don't even remember which company they applied for, but they know that which portal, via which portal they applied, because they know that is only portal they use for the job search or whatever. So, but they do not know really what which company, what they're into, and all that. But if you ask me, it's important to do that minimal research on the company. It's not that we need to know anything and everything. At least the minimal of what domain they are into, and what is the job profile. You should know what you have applied for, right? So there are few applicants who would completely deny, stating that I never applied for this job. So so if you have not applied, I'm not sure how I've received it, but then it will also save recruiters time and also will not be waste of your time. So
Right.
apply only if it is suitable for you. That will help other people who are looking out for job to get the calls before, right? Because while we are busy looking at these CVs which are not suitable, we
Hmm.
will be spending more time and we're not calling the right ones. So it'll help you, it'll help people around, it'll help the recruiter. Always apply and also know which company you're applying for and what it is into and what is the job role about, and is it something suitable to your skill set, your qualification. That would take a minute or two,
Hmm.
because we now have there are a lot of channels through which we can know about the company now. So it may take a minute or two while you're applying for the job. At least when the recruiter calls you or when you're talking to the interviewer, you can tell them what you know, and that makes them feel you are really keen about this profile
Right.
and you want to join us. So that's the
Right.
kind of positive feeling we would get when we are talking to candidates.
Absolutely. And it happens to be so that people, what they usually do is they just apply now in every company that they see. They're just simply clicking on the apply now button without looking left, right, here, there. They just see, acha, itna experience, okay, fine. Itna the qualification required, ha, theek hai, I can apply. And then they just apply now. So this absolutely happens a lot. I want to also ask you, when we are there in the interview, what is that one particular question that can either make or break your image altogether?